Part 87. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 861. Have you heard that the second demon is dead? This news spread back to Blue Star, causing a sensation among the top human beings. The second generation of the most powerful seeds Wuhan has shown its sharpness, and has already had a glorious record of fighting the devil without dying. People never expected that in such a short period of time, Wuhan's combat power would increase so quickly, and he would actually kill the second demon god. In the Eternal Forest, the top combatants of the human race are getting together to rest. They have just returned from the front line, sorting out their injuries, recovering their strength, and chatting together. The news of the second demon god's death is the best talking point. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The deputy commander of the Nightmare Legion shouted while holding a magazine. The answer to this question absolutely cannot be 5. How can 2 plus 3 equal 5? The people around him were very calm and took it for granted when they heard the deputy commander's words. He's a madman. We all know. There are two most famous lunatics in the human race. One is King Huo, Madman Huo. The other is the deputy commander of the Nightmare Legion, Shadow Madman, also known as the Second Madman. As Madman Huo was promoted to King of Heaven, few people dared to mention the words Madman Huo. There are many strong people who would mention what the two lunatics said. The main reason is that Shadow Maniac never cared and never argued with anyone. And, this guy, after going to the battlefield, became really crazy. While chatting, someone asked an extra question. Second Madman, you just came back from the second abyss. Is the second demon god dead? Second demon god. Shadow Madman took down the toilet book and said solemnly. What does he look like? Is he powerful? Can he kill my father? This. The melon-eating crowd watching could not hold back any longer. Is there something wrong with your relationship with your father? A deputy commander of the Fenglan Legion and the youngest deputy commander in history asked curiously. Master Ying, how powerful is your father? Don't. The people next to him couldn't stop him, but the deputy commander, who could do anything quickly, still spoke quickly and asked. Boom. The deputy commander flew out and fell into the ground, and his wails could be heard from the depths. Shadow Madman squatted on the pit and shook his head. You are too weak, I can't explain it to you. Originally, Shadow Crazy planned to test the opponent's strength and then tell the opponent how many times my father is equal to you. As a result, why is it so weak? Shadow Madman was a little confused. Are you recruiting commanders so perfunctory now? Everyone. How strong is my dad? Shadow Madman squatted by the pit and said to himself. You know the man who almost became my adoptive father? My father is as good as him. Father? What kind of father? A strong man carrying a sledgehammer passed by and asked curiously. How did you know Wuhan was going to be my adoptive father? Everyone. Someone shouted at the top of their lungs. Master Zhu is here. Soon, everyone dispersed. Even the people at the bottom of the pit disappeared. It can be seen that the name Zhu Ye means something to everyone. Jajaja. The terrifying and eerie laughter spread throughout the forest. Xiao Er, just in time, I'm looking for you. A big knife sank into the ground and pierced the shadow of Shadow Madman. We have established a new department. If you work in another place in the future, let's introduce them to each other. This is Ying 1 and this is Ying 3. From the shadows, a weak woman and a taciturn strong man stepped out. The two of them looked very difficult to mess with, and Ying Er warned himself that he must let them have a chance encounter with his father. After introducing the two of them, Ying Zhu continued. As for you. I know. Shadow Maniac jumped up and waved his hands. Shadow 2. Shadow 2. Ying Zhu hesitated for a while, but finally gave in. Okay, I originally planned to let you be the fourth shadow. If 1, 2, 3, and 9 are there, the shadow is established. Master Ju looked around, looked at the end of his angel shift, and sighed. From now on, this is our home. Great. By the way, your establishment is still in the Legion, and your salary will go to that account. Bad. That night, just as Ying Er packed up his bags and was about to leave quietly, a voice suddenly called him. Second Master, why are you going? In the shadows, a strong man carrying a bone stick walked out, his face full of honesty. Except for this white bone stick, the strong man only had clothes made of a few pieces of animal skins, which looked a bit crude. I'll report it. Ying Er jumped up and said in a girly voice. This guy wants to escape. Escape? Ying San asked curiously. Why are you running? Master Ju is not treating you well. If you want to talk about this, Second Master will not be sleeping. Second Master, Ying said excitedly. Master Ju is so kind to me. Let me tell you, when I ran away from home, it was the one who picked me up with Master Ju. Pick it up? The corner of Ying San's mouth twitched, not knowing what to say. In the entire abyss, the only person Ying San is afraid of may be Ying Er's father. Having said that, Ying Ju dared to hide Ying Er in the shadow, which Ying San did not expect. Second Master, Ying said proudly. Back then, I almost recognized that foster father. Oh. Most people don't believe Mr. Ying's crazy words. He's crazy. How could anyone believe what a madman said? Shadow 3 letters. After Ying San said oh, he made no more moves and stayed where he was. The sneaky Second Master Ying was about to walk away, but suddenly he froze in the air and turned around to ask. Third brother, you won't stop me. Ying San shook his head, I won't stop him. Then are you going to complain to Master Ju? Don't complain. This time, the Second Master Ying was confused. You didn't stop me, and you didn't complain, so why are you staying here? Ying San asked abruptly. Second Master, why are you leaving? Don't you like it here? I like it, why don't I like it? Second Master Ying was anxious and counted on his fingers. Here we are, eating well and sleeping well, working without any danger, and with someone covering our heads. Although no one was covering us in the past few years, Wuhan has risen, isn't it? The hard days are over, and now are the good days. Come on. Ying Er emphasized. Master Ju said he would call this place his home. In Ying San's opinion, home is the best place to sleep. If there wasn't someone holding a 40-meter sword to his neck, Ying San wouldn't have left his home and come here to live a life of anonymity. Looks like Kong, Ying Er really calls this place his home. Ying San was even more confused. Since you call this place your home, why do you want to leave? Ying Er's two eyeballs squeezed into the middle and turned into cross eyes. Later, he simply took out one eyeball and stuffed it into the other side. The Second Master Ying looked at each other and said in unison. We love getting away from home. Let me report to you on the progress of the new book. Book title, done. Introduction, unfinished. Text, 0. It's true that the old thieves have been defeated. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 862. After the Second Master Ying finished speaking, the third Ying just said oh and said nothing more. The foot that Ying Er stepped out could neither fall nor be withdrawn. Second Master Ying asked tentatively. Third brother, why don't you stop me when I run away from home? Ying San replied honestly, I won't stop. Second Master Ying. You stop me. What if I succeed? It can be seen that Second Master Ying really likes this family and is reluctant to even run away from home. Ying San shook his head. Don't stop. he is an honest man and won't stop anyone if he doesn't want to. Then I'm really leaving. I'm really leaving. Master Ju, I'm reporting that Yang Er is running away from home. Yang Er shouted loudly, but no one paid any attention to him. Just when Yang Er gritted his teeth and was about to take the first step of running away from home, Yang San spoke. Who is your father? Yang Er said confidently. Great demon god. Yang San frowned, recalling the strength of the current great demon god, and murmured. That trash? Impossible. To make sure nothing went wrong, Yang San asked again. Are you sure your father is the great demon god and not the fifth demon god? Yang Er answered confidently. Of course, my father is very good at being the great demon god, so why would he want to be the fifth demon god? Reasonable and convincing. Yang San nodded. I can rest assured that. What are you worried about? Yang Er asked cautiously. Third brother, why are you asking me this? You are going to have a fight with my father. My father is very powerful. How about you go and kill him? Yang San answered honestly. If your father is the current great demon god, it wouldn't be difficult to kill him, but... Curious baby Shadow 2 came online and asked, just what? It's just that Master Ju didn't let me kill him. That's okay. Before Yang Er left, he asked again. Third Master, why are you asking me this? He has determined the strength of the other party and is a person of the generation called me. Yang San is very honest and answers all questions. When you run away from home, I want to kill you, take a few bones and hang them on your body, and make sure in advance whether you have a big background, so that I won't offend you. As long as you are not the missing son of the fifth demon god, I will be relieved. Shadow 2. Has anyone ever told you that you are too honest? Kagji, whose legs were trembling, said timidly. Third Master, I suddenly don't want to leave. Oh. There was some disappointment in Yang San's voice. Third Master, I remembered, I still have half a foster father, no, a foster father. Yang 2 started to pull Yang 3 apart. He and his adoptive father passed by each other by chance, which was half fate. He was two people, and together they became one adopted father. Yang San asked sincerely. Is your adoptive father very strong? Yang 3 has already determined that Yang 2's father is not a good person. Just a big demon. Is this foster father, the strongest person in the human race? Well, I've never seen my adoptive father take action. Yang Er was a little embarrassed. Every time his adoptive father made a move, he would fall asleep. Oh, right. Yang Er thought of something. Master Ju has always been stepped on by my adoptive father. Shadow 3. Yang San stood up, held Yang Er's hand, and said honestly. I will hang out with you from now on. Being so frightened, Yang Er did not dare to run away from home, and Yang San did not dare to make a move against Yang Er. At this time, two figures walked out of the shadows. Shadow 1, Shadow 9. They heard everything that just happened. Listen, there's only one rule in shadow. Yang Ju glanced at the first three shadows and said seriously. My words are the rules, no killing each other. Second Master Yang corrected him strictly, Master Ju, these are two rules. Yang Ju glanced at Yang Er. He regretted it a bit. Let Yang San beat this guy to death, it will save you some trouble. Yang Ju left a word and turned to leave. Work with peace of mind, the human race will not treat you badly. Little did they know at this time that there would be a bright future waiting for everyone in the not too distant future. This future is too bright. The weight of life is unbearable. Decades later. Late one night. Jajaja. A signature laugh echoed over the eternal forest. This forest has been silent for a long time. At the same time, the top three shadows received the same message. Boys, let's get to work. Below the eternal tower, a weak woman emerged from the shadow. The weak woman was leaning against the eternal tower, yawning and listless. In the abyss, a strong man dressed in white bones casually maimed a demon god, pulled out the opponent's spine, carefully selected one section, and then stuffed the spine back. Then, the strong man punched forward casually, opening the passage between the two realms and returning to the eternal forest in one step. When the strong man arrived, he only saw the weak woman. "Where's second Master Ying?" The weak woman rolled her eyes. "You ask me, who should I ask?" "Ask me. Ask me." A rough voice came, and Master Ying rushed to the scene with his hands raised. Only Ying Er stood there with a blank look on his face. "Jajaja." The weak woman's expression tightened, and she no longer had the leisure and calmness she had before. An old voice sounded in the field, bringing shocking news. "I understand." The more Ying Er talked, the more excited he became. He must have been right. After saying that, the shadow knife flew away from where it was, not knowing where it was going. Only the old laughter still echoes over the forest. "Kill Shura. Grab the talent. Be the strongest. 9 kings." The shadow blade, which had been missing for more than 30 years, appeared again. Before the weak woman finished speaking, a knife fell from the sky and landed on the shadow. Today, a boy named Shura awakened his SSS level talent. After not seeing each other for decades, Master Ju is becoming more and more like a villain. "Let's kill that kid tonight, take away the SSS level talent, and let Master Ju be the most powerful seed." Ying Er decided to think about it. Shadow 3. Just do what you have to do. Honest people count on their fingers how many bones they still need to get together. Soon, Ying Er got the answer. There were so many flaws in these words that even Ying Ju fell into silence. "Master Ju, wait, I'm going to get Shura's head right now." "What? Let me think." "Master Ju, why are you telling us this? The most powerful seeds that have just awakened their talents, Ying Er Yi can eat 9 of them in one meal. The top 3 shadows are assembled. Where's Master Ju?" As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and walked outside. "Disciple, I've done the math for me. I'm expected to have SSS level talent in this life, so don't worry for a while." A shadow of a knife knocked Ying Er away, and Ying Ju was obviously used to Ying Er's madness. "Public shadows. Be honest. I know where Ying Er is, ask me." Ying Er looked at Master Ju excitedly and asked seriously. Ying Er is a man of action. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 863. Name. Win the wine. Age. Have no idea. Gender. You come and take a look. Don't be shy, can you need it? Be serious. Do you know what you have done? I don't know, are you nagging me? In the origin of the world, the companion creature Yang Huang accused you of deliberate murder. Is this true? It can't be said that he was killed deliberately. In front of the interrogation table, a carefree young man stood with his legs crossed on the table, his chair knocked up, his hands clasped behind his head, and he looked forward with disdain. There is a pair of silver handcuffs on the boy's wrists, as well as on the shadow. Opposite the young man, there were several interrogators sitting with serious expressions. Yingju, I don't care where you come from. If you commit a crime in our Order Star Alliance, you will have to bear the corresponding consequences. Let me remind you, Order Star Alliance has the most powerful people. After hearing these words, the young man finally put away his cynical expression and asked seriously. Is this supreme being you are talking about, very strong? What do you think? One of the interrogators snorted, amused by the question. What is the strongest? The upper limit of world power, the real ceiling. Only then are you qualified to be called the strongest. According to rumors, the first most powerful person in many worlds is named Nightmare. How powerful the Nightmare is unknown. Because no one has ever seen Nightmare, let alone seen Nightmare take action. However, among many worlds, the most recognized creature is the Observer. It is said that he is the biological grandson of Nightmare. These legends are too illusory and have no traces. They can only be used as chatting materials after dinner. However, what they are talking about now is not a legend or a source of conversation, but the real strongest one. There is no such thing as too much respect for the strongest. The Order officer sitting in the main seat said seriously. The Order Star Alliance governs 6,872 worlds, and there are 3 strongest ones in total. The young man interrupted him. Are you good at fighting? One of the interrogators was furious, banged the table and cursed. Presumptuous. You are disrespectful to the most powerful person. Even if you have not committed any crime, we, the Order Star Alliance, will not tolerate you. Even if the Order Star Alliance can tolerate you, any force with the most powerful person will not want to see an arrogant person like you. The young man picked his ears nonchalantly and asked. Let's talk about my case and explain it. What did you commit? Everyone looked at each other. Should we judge you, or should you judge me? An interrogator suppressed his anger and said in a cold voice. You broke into the world under the jurisdiction of our Order Star Alliance for no reason and killed the world's origin companion Sheep Desolation. Yang Huang is a collaborator of the Order Star Alliance. To be precise, it surrenders to the strongest of the Covenant of Order and is willing to serve them. As a companion creature of the origin of the world, Yang Huang has a very high level. Even if he doesn't have to do anything, his own strength will continue to improve. According to the deduction of the Order Star Alliance, it only takes another 100 epochs for Yang Huang to have nearly the strongest combat power, and it can also be ranked among the Order Star Alliance. The result, died. The boy in front of me was hacked to death with a knife. After counting the many capital crimes committed by the young man, a strong man said softly. Since you are a first-time offender and do not know the rules of our Order Covenant, we can give you a chance to reform. Join the Order Star Alliance and serve to maintain the order of more worlds. Your strength should not be wasted on such useless things. You should make more contributions to the world. We, the Order Covenant, serve the observers. We believe that as long as all worlds are maintained in a stable order, the observers will give rewards. Even though this young man had a lot of disrespect before, the Order Star Alliance was indeed very coveted by his strength and potential. Being able to achieve this level shows that the young man will not be inferior to Yang Huang in the future. Otherwise, if anyone else had committed such a capital crime, they would have been beaten to death long ago. How could it be his turn to talk so much? Facing the olive branch offered by the other party, the young man asked. What if I don't agree? If you don't agree, leave your life here. The strongest one is coming. There's more than one. Obviously, facing this young man with mysterious origins and mysterious strength, the strongest people attach great importance to him. They came together just in case. Even the strongest can fall. However, even the strongest has its limits. If the 3 strongest men attack at the same time, even if they are defeated, their lives will not be in danger. Finally, someone who can speak appears. The young man leaned back and put his head on the ground, connecting with the shadow. The strongest man from the Order Star Alliance asked. Why did you kill Yang Huang? If you give us a reasonable explanation, we can consider letting you go. The boy did not answer this question, but asked another question. Yang Huang is in his own world and eats a girl every once in a while. Do you know that? The most powerful person present was stunned for a moment, feeling a little funny. Just because of this, You killed Yang Huang. Do you know how many lives can be saved when Yang Huang grows up and serves the Order Star Alliance? You killed Yang Huang for a mere life or two. The most powerful man laughs in anger. This young man in front of me cannot be kept. The young man also found it funny. How you settle the score is your business. It kills people, I kill them, it's that simple. The young man looked at the three strongest men in front of him with provocative eyes. If I don't agree to join you, how are you going to kill me? One of the strongest men sneered. The boy got the answer he wanted. Dracula. Roll. Okay, I know what to do with you. The shadow will swallow up everyone present. We will kill you, then extract your soul, light a soul lamp, and refine your body into a puppet. Working for our Order Star Alliance for billions of epochs is considered to be working under the Observer. Everyone was surprised to find that even though the Observer had left, they still had not regained their ability to move. The vast majority of people survived. Jajaja. The eyes gave off a terrifying and oppressive feeling, and at the same time, an extremely evil sound came out. The boy named Yingju rolled his eyes and slapped his eyes away. Thief Sunday. It's not your turn to steal my lines. By the way, is this the Observer you are talking about? What a watcher! A young man carrying a machete strolled out of the Order Covenant headquarters, grinning like a villain. Jajaja. Blind Box Chapter, Vampire Card Pool is up for a limited time. However, their memories have changed somewhat. An old voice came to everyone's ears. An eye appeared behind the boy, staring at everyone. The moment this eye appeared, everyone present, regardless of their level of realm, felt an almost suffocating sense of oppression. To be precise, the memories of all members of the Order Star Alliance and all creatures in the world under their jurisdiction have changed slightly at a certain moment. Today, the two strongest men of the Order Star Alliance are still guarding many worlds. Jajaja. Please vote for the next extra article. Don't worry, I have always been fair. If you want to kill me once, I will only kill one of you. They used their own attitudes to write the ending for themselves. A messed up article, you have one vote and I have one vote, the old thief will ask for leave tomorrow. Even if the three strongest men wanted to ask for mercy at this moment, it was too late. The young man snapped his fingers. He turned back to look at the people in the room, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and the shadows spread in all directions. It seems that everything is insignificant in front of this eye. Kane. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 864. The story begins a long time ago. At that time, there was no powerful demon god. At that time, there was no eternal tower. At that time, the vampires were still very powerful. And our story takes place in the small territory of a blood count. A shout broke the tranquility of the castle. Your Excellency Dracula. Call me Count. A pale, handsome man, the pattern on his collar showed his identity, and the fangs at the corners of his mouth and the rising and falling breath proved that the Count had just made a breakthrough not long ago. A blood servant prostrate on the ground and said respectfully. Lord Earl, the latest batch of humans purchased has arrived. My subordinates would like to know, when will they eat? Can't stand it for so many days? Despicable guys, I really don't know how the previous generation of Earls could tolerate you. Gosh, your stench has ruined this Earl's mood for the whole day. The Earl is not old and not very strong, but he is extremely assertive. The blood servant with his head buried on the ground could only suppress his desire for blood and slowly retreated. Etc. Count Dracula stopped the other party and asked casually. Except for purchasing humans, have you bought anything else on the list? List. The blood servant reacted immediately and said quickly. I have done everything according to your instructions. I bought 300 chickens, 200 pigs, 500 ducks, 100 cattle and sheep, By the way, I didn't buy the wolf. The villain boldly bought a werewolf. These things are not expensive. However, there is something very strange about the blood servant. Why does the new earl buy these? If you are buying livestock, wouldn't it be enough to just buy humans? Whether they are blood servants, blood slaves, or pure vampires, they do not need to eat meat on weekdays, they only need to drink blood. For them, human blood is undoubtedly the most delicious. Werewolf blood is the worst thing to drink, it's sour and smelly. This earl is strange that he wants to buy these things. Dracula noticed his subordinate's surprise and patiently explained. You dirty guys don't understand the beauty of eating at all. If humans are full, blood will be more delicious. Yes. What the earl said is absolutely true. Did you buy all the charcoal, spices, cumin, oil, and iron picks I asked you to buy? The younger one robbed a barbecue restaurant and got everything together. Where's the barbecue chef? The little one was killed easily. Dracula waved his hand. Get out. The pale count had an unspeakable secret. He is sick. From a modern medical perspective, Dracula suffered from a very serious disease. Disease name, pica. As a vampire, he doesn't like to suck blood. He doesn't like to eat human blood, blood from his own race, animal blood, he doesn't like to eat any blood. How could anyone eat that kind of smelly stuff? Dracula loved another kind of food, human food, barbecue. Just brush something with oil, put it on the fire, and bake it until it sizzles with oil and hisses. The taste is amazing. However, as a blood count, such a thing must not be known to the second vampire. Otherwise, Dracula will become the laughing stock of the vampires overnight. Dracula endured it for 2 days. Finally, on this day, he couldn't bear it anymore. He sneaked into the pig pen, selected a suckling pig, slaughtered it, hid in a hidden place, and lit the charcoal. Roast suckling pig, I've heard about it for a long time, this is the first time I've eaten it. Under Dracula's careful roasting, the piglet quickly turned golden brown, very tempting. No, seducing vampires. Suck. The sound of swallowing saliva was particularly clear. Dracula was stunned. This is not swallowing saliva. Dracula, who was roasting suckling pig, turned around suddenly when he heard the movement behind him. He saw a human woman drooling in his direction. To be precise, I am drooling over the roasted suckling pig. How come there are humans coming in? Dracula subconsciously wanted to take action and kill the woman in front of him. His ears moved slightly and he heard footsteps coming from outside the corridor. A group of vampires were approaching. Obviously, this woman who escaped from prison privately has been discovered by the blood servants. No, probably not a discovery. Dracula instantly understood the cause and effect. He did not allow his blood slaves and vampires to eat. These guys were very hungry and could not hunt privately. The vampires are a race with strict hierarchies. They disobey the orders of their superiors and suffer no good consequences from them. So, these hungry guys came up with a perfect solution. They deliberately let some humans go, and in the process of chasing them, killed them and sucked their blood. When Dracula stabilized, it could be said that he disappeared, or he resisted too fiercely and was already dead when he was caught. The same thing has happened 3 or 4 times recently, and Dracula has never taken it to heart. It wasn't until he hit the other side that Dracula realized the mystery. That's too late. No matter whether he ran away now or killed the woman, there was no way to explain the roasted suckling pig in Dracula's hands. As we all know, Dracula is a very face-conscious person. He must do something to save his face. I need to give everyone a perfect explanation. Dracula looked at the roasted suckling pig in his hand, and then at the woman in front of him. He gritted his teeth and made the decision he regretted for the 3rd time in his life. When the blood servants caught up, they saw an incredible scene. Lord Dracula sat by the campfire, and the escaped woman sat beside him. The woman was holding a big wooden stick with roasted suckling pig on skewers and was feasting on it, her mouth full of fat. Count Dracula was looking at the woman with excitement. Everyone? How is this going? A bunch of idiots. Dracula glanced at everyone and said disdainfully. Don't you know that the blood of those who have just escaped death is sweet? If they are full, the blood will taste even more delicious. Everyone suddenly realized. I see. Everything is under Count Dracula's calculations. Eat, eat. Dracula watched as the suckling pig he had carefully roasted was chewed and swallowed by the woman. Suck. Dracula swallowed. In the eyes of other vampires and blood servants, Dracula is lusting after women. Only women and Dracula knew in their hearts that this guy was just craving for roasted suckling pig. The woman asked tentatively with her eyes, how much do you want? Dracula rolled his eyes, eat yours. How could he, the mighty Blood Earl, eat such low-grade food as roast suckling pig? Isn't this a joke? No way. Dracula said quietly. When you finish eating, I will eat you. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 865. Earl's Castle. Tonight, Count Dracula is going to enjoy a rare delicacy, and no one is allowed to disturb him. This is also the first time the Earl has eaten since he took office. As usual, after the Earl eats, it is the other blood slaves' turn to eat. Therefore, all vampires have been waiting for this moment. Dungeon. Bot, bot, dash. Dracula just took a bite and tasted a little blood, and immediately felt nauseated and almost vomited. He covered his nose with one hand and waved with the other hand. Take it, take it, take it quickly. Opposite him, the human woman's face was a little pale. There were 2 blood holes on her neck, and blood was slowly flowing out. The woman looked at the vampire's reaction, a little amused, and took a step back. This is the first time I've seen a bloodthirsty vampire. It's the Earl. Dracula emphasized. I'm not fainting from blood. I just hate this thing. It's disgusting and range-wise. Do you understand? Have you humans ever seen a dog eat shit? In my opinion, sucking blood is similar to a dog eating shit. The woman's expression froze for a moment, she didn't expect this explanation. Dracula rinsed his mouth repeatedly with water while talking to the woman. It's not considered eating just now, but you were bitten by me. It's hard to count your first embrace, unless you are extremely talented. How strong do you have to be? You can probably become a forbidden prince. Only then can you withstand this kind of thing, a perfunctory first embrace. In Dracula's eyes, women are already dead. He continued. Don't be too sad. Don't be a human again in your next life. Look, among all the races, your human race is the only one being bullied every day. I feel bad for you just looking at it. Come on, eat a chicken drumstick. In the dungeon, in addition to the woman, Dracula, there is a grill, a vent, and a pile of fresh ingredients. According to Dracula's external explanation, when humans see delicious food, they themselves become more delicious. So, these are all for women. Dracula himself would never touch any human food. No way. After giving a chicken leg to the woman, Dracula hugged the whole chicken and ate it happily. You should feel dizzy now, double vision appears in front of your eyes, difficulty breathing. Listening to Dracula's words, the woman was a little surprised. Because none of what Dracula said happened to him. In order to cover up her abnormality and distract Dracula, the woman took the initiative and asked. My lord, if you don't drink blood, how can you become stronger? Dracula had been waiting for her to ask. Absorb the essence of you. I lie on the coffin board and take a nap. Hey, I'm a viscount. I'm taking a nap and I'm a count. From this perspective, Dracula's true talent is, Very strong. Because, without sucking blood, he could grow to the level of a count, which is very terrifying. Let's get back to you. Dracula turned his back to the woman, working on the barbecue grill. If you complete the first embrace, you will now grow 2 fangs, and you will also crave blood. How much blood you drink for the first time shows how strong your potential is. I can't remember the time when I was first embraced. She showed 2 fangs. Hungry. So hungry. 3 times 5 divided by 2, he finished the chicken drumstick in his hand. The woman doesn't have any feeling of eating, and the taste is just like wax. There was only a little bit of blood left from the barbecue on the bones of the chicken legs, which became extremely delicious in the woman's mouth. So hungry. Still so hungry. I need something to eat. Food, food, food. The woman saw Dracula, who was busy grilling, and walked up mechanically. The female vampire bit Dracula's neck hard. This is her first time eating. Vampires with stronger potential will have a larger appetite when eating for the first time, and the greater the movement of the river of blood will be. Dracula subconsciously wanted to resist, but was suppressed by the river of blood and couldn't move. Dracula was about to cry without tears, and raised his middle finger to the river of blood. You have so much blood. If you want to cultivate genius seeds, give it to her. I'm just an earl. Will die. Before Dracula fell into coma, the female vampire's true name emerged in the river of blood. She whispered in Dracula's ear. Remember, my name is Lilith. Pain. Headache. Dracula woke up with a splitting headache. He remembered everything that happened before he fell into coma. Dracula checked his whole body and found no wounds. Apart from being a little weak, there was no other problem. Dracula began to look for his servants. Empty. 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 Every room is empty. Where is the guy? Dracula is going crazy, almost crazy, on the verge of collapse. Where's the vampire from the Count's castle who's my age? The entire castle was filled with a strong smell of blood, and there were pools of blood on the ground. Are you looking for them? Her stomach made a growling sound and she looked down. But before Dracula could take action, the female vampire lying in a pool of blood moved. But sucking blood is another kind of torture for Dracula. Lilith, can you eat them all? For vampires, sucking the blood of their companions can also enhance their own potential. If you dare to escape, I will kill you. To be precise, if the injury is fully recovered, it is still unclear who will win in a 1v1 between this female vampire and Dracula. The opponent is now defenseless. If Dracula takes advantage of the opponent's danger, he can definitely succeed. Perhaps for a moment, Dracula couldn't resist the temptation to become stronger and was ready to do something evil. Before she could finish her words, she rolled her eyes and fainted due to the serious injury. Almost got there. It's a scam. Hiss. This is. Looking at the unconscious woman, no, a female vampire. Dracula felt complicated and didn't know what to do for a while. The woman with a bloody face was sitting in a pool of blood. She completely lost her imperial sister style just now. She looked at Dracula with a pair of innocent eyes, and her voice became a little timid. I mean, do you want roasted chicken wings or roasted pig's trotters? Soon, Dracula noticed something was wrong. This powerful Viscount, with his eyes wide open, died a violent death. He seemed to have seen something terrible, and he ended his sinful life without even being able to resist at the most basic level. Dracula. He actually set a trap on me. This is the head of a Viscount, and the strength of the entire castle is second only to Dracula. My Lord Count. You humans are so evil. A head rolled in a pool of blood and stopped after hitting Dracula's boot. Dracula's pupils shrank, his eyes full of shock. Dracula glanced down. The vampire who had just embraced Dracula for the first time just took away Dracula's blood, and massacred the entire castle overnight. He knew very well that the potential of the female vampire in front of him was far above his own. The corners of the woman's mouth raised slightly, she wiped away the blood stains, and said coldly, "Pica wins. This woman is so terrifying, we must not keep her. Lilith is hungry." Dracula began to feel lucky that his hesitation indirectly saved his life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 866. Earl's Castle. Dracula has a hard time describing his current state of life. During the day, he cooks barbecue. Grilled fish, grilled shrimps, grilled oysters, slaughtered pigs, sheep, cattle, and horses. At night, he was responsible for shivering. Only trembling, no shivering. Dracula couldn't explain clearly what kind of life he was living right now. During the day, Lilith only eats and sleeps, looking harmless to humans and animals. Dracula carefully experimented. Lilith is not afraid of the sun. There are only two possibilities. The first possibility is that Lilith is a human being, not a vampire. Of course there is no need to be afraid of the sun. The second possibility is that Lilith's rank as a vampire is too high, so high that she can ignore the sun. Either way, it would give Dracula a headache. When the sun goes down and night falls, Lilith falls into a deep sleep. Lilith, wake up. Time to kill. Fortunately, Lilith didn't kill Dracula. She seems to regard Dracula as her servant and the castle as her territory. After Lilith wakes up, she will leave the castle and go hunting outside. Where she went or what she did, Dracula had no idea. All Dracula knew was that Lilith would go out as soon as dusk passed. Before dawn, a wounded Lilith would return to the castle, occasionally bringing back some loot. At first, the trophies Lilith brought back were items of Viscount and Earl level, including not only vampires, but also powerful men of the same level from other races. After seeing these trophies, Dracula was not too surprised. If it were him, if he wanted to achieve the same level, although it would be a bit difficult, he could still do it. Soon, as time passed, Dracula realized that something was wrong. Lilith brought back more and more trophies, and their grades were getting higher and higher, and even marquee grade trophies began to appear. Is this female vampire a monster? Originally, Lilith's body was completely unable to support such frequent battles. No matter how strong your talent is, it is still limited. Genius also needs time to settle and accumulate. Even if the vampires are good at recovery, they don't have such a monster's recovery speed. But, Dracula discovered the mystery and figured out why Lilith didn't let him run away. Lilith became a vampire, no doubt because of Dracula's first embrace. According to the rules of the vampire clan, those in lower positions will become stronger, and those in higher positions will also become stronger. In other words, the stronger Lilith becomes, the stronger Dracula becomes. He originally grew stronger while lying in a coffin, and when he grew up to be a count, he was already Dracula's limit. Now, Dracula doesn't have to do anything. He can continue to lie down and become stronger. Several times, Dracula felt like he was about to break through to the marquee. But there is one but that I fear most in everything. After Dracula becomes stronger, his increased vitality will immediately be plundered unconsciously by Lilith. In other words, Dracula became Lilith's blood pack and power bank. Lilith fights at night, becomes stronger, and gets injured. Lilith eats in the morning, sleeps, and plunders Dracula's blood. Therefore, on the second night, Lilith was still able to go out to fight and kill with full health. It was only due to various chances and coincidences that Lilith's terrifying growth rate was achieved. Her rank has still reached that of an earl, and her real combat power may not be weaker than that of a marquis. One night, Lilith was seriously injured and came back empty-handed. During the day, Lilith had a high fever, her face was pale, and she lay motionless on the bed. She had no desire even for her favorite roasted pig's trotters. Dracula was anxious around Lilith, listening to the other party's murmurs and not knowing what he could do. Finally, Dracula endured the heartache, gritted his teeth, stamped his feet, and slashed deep into his arm with his eyes closed. Blood gushed out and fell on Lilith's withered lips, blooming roses one after another. Dracula comforted himself while feeling his own weakness. "This is my investment. She will become stronger. I will be promoted to Marquis as soon as possible, and there will be countless good days in the future." That night, Lilith, resurrected with full health, went out again. After dawn, Lilith, who hid in the shadow of the trees and staggered back to the castle, brought back the body of an old duke. After 2 nights of fighting, she killed an old vampire duke who lived in seclusion in the mountains. Lilith also broke through to the Marquis, and Dracula was only 1 step away from the Marquis. Looking at the duke's body, Dracula had a nightmare all day long. "It's so scary." When Dracula was born, the old duke even hugged him. However, vampires are cold-blooded creatures, and emotions do not exist. The day after Lilith killed the duke, Dracula bit the bullet and called out to Lilith, who was about to go out and kill everyone. "That, you, stay." Dracula trembled and said, "There's something I need to tell you." "Explain." Lilith had a bad temper and looked coldly at the little vampire earl in front of her. During this period, as many as 80 counts died under her hands. In the beginning, Dracula was kept because he was still somewhat useful. Later, it was because Lilith liked to eat the things this guy baked. After that, Lilith couldn't explain why she wanted to keep Dracula. "This little guy looks cute. How should I put it in human terms? Yes, male favorite." Dracula organized his words and said carefully, "If you kill a duke, you will definitely alert the top brass of the vampire clan and send people down to investigate the situation." Lilith said coldly, "Who will kill who?" She was worried that the enemies around her were too weak and she was advancing too slowly. Dracula didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and earnestly persuaded, "That's the truth, but if the other party doesn't respect martial ethics and lets dozens of dukes or princes and elders besiege you, what will you do? Escape?" The answer Lilith gave was simple. "There is no strongest person in our vampire clan. It's just that so much material is consumed to build a tower." Not far from the tower, a lazy man with an unusually handsome appearance and a hint of femininity was sitting on a throne, looking forward boredly. "I'll be the first." Looking from the bottom, it should be the base of the tower. "I won't die." "If you hadn't escaped, wouldn't you have died?" "Escape, become stronger, and come back. Suppose you didn't escape and you died, wouldn't it be a great loss?" "You say it, I do it." Extra, the old thief wishes everyone a happy Mid-Autumn festival. Gu, Bei Shao. At the same time, just when the man was bored, a piece of news was sent to him. The corners of the man's mouth raised slightly. "Dracula. I haven't fought, so I don't know." He opened his mouth slightly, and with a pair of delicate hands, he handed a blood grape up and put it into his mouth. "Use your brain, it's so troublesome." After glancing at the information, the man's slender eyebrows raised slightly, feeling that it was interesting. "Your Highness, a mysterious strong man appeared in the northern forest. He slaughtered strong men of all races indiscriminately and killed a duke of our race. It's far worse than the blood of gods. Pass the order. You are a genius, the genius among geniuses, more Cain than Cain, so time is on your side, you have to be humble and develop." The man shook his head, a little dissatisfied. "How strong is this tower?" "It makes sense, keep talking." I mean, what if? What if? Suppose you meet an extremely powerful person. You meet the Forbidden Prince among the Forbidden Princes, His Highness the Shadow Blood Ancestor Cain. Can you escape? Sounds like a lot of trouble. Can't you kill all the way to the strongest one? Then you should cherish your life even more. In a top-secret address, countless strong men were like slaves, carrying materials, and seemed to be building something. It melts in your mouth, the blood of the god of war. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 867. In the early morning, a bat broke the tranquility of the Earl's castle. Count Dracula, Count Dracula. Dracula, dressed in chef's clothes, hurried out. When Bat saw Dracula dressed like this, he was also stunned. Is this guy a count? I have never seen such a funny count before. After confirming Dracula's identity, Bat shouted at the top of his lungs. His Excellency the Forbidden Prince Baishao, you are always ready to welcome him. After saying that, the bat waved its wings and left the count's castle. When the bat spoke, Dracula showed no reaction and looked like a block of wood. After the bat left, Dracula broke into a cold sweat. Forbidden Prince. Judging from this tone, the grade is not low. It might even be the Forbidden Prince among the Forbidden Princes. Northern hunting. Who are you looking for, Lilith? That would be big trouble. Dracula stood there, engaged in a fierce ideological struggle. To backstab, or not to backstab? For the vampires, this is not a problem. Because the words backstab are engraved in the blood family's genes, betraying Lilith does not have any psychological burden on Dracula. The only reason he struggled, Lilith was too strong. Dracula was not sure whether the other party had the potential to surpass Cain. If Lilith is sold, it will only allow Dracula to go further, but there is no way to obtain a higher reward. However, if Lilith is kept, as long as the other party becomes stronger, Dracula will one day be able to become a duke. For Dracula, who has never sucked blood, this is an irresistible temptation. Any other way to advance requires Dracula to drink blood, which is equivalent to feeding him shit. No need for this. What's there to hesitate about? At this time, Lilith also happened to return to the castle. Lilith glanced at Dracula and said coldly, "Why are you standing there stupidly?" With that said, she walked deeper into the castle, returning to the extra-large coffin that originally belonged to Dracula to rest for a while. Lord Lilith. Dracula looked at the abandoned castle and the bats flying away, and made a bold decision. Let's run away. If the Forbidden Prince passes by the castle, he will definitely notice something unusual about Lilith. By then, it will be too late to escape. Running away? Why are you running away? Soon, in the castle, the sleepy Lilith finished listening to Dracula's description. You actually came. Lilith was a little eager to try. Is the Forbidden Prince very strong, compared with the Duke? Nowadays, it is not difficult for Lilith to kill the Duke alone. As for the Prince, she hasn't met him yet, so she doesn't know very well. Dracula said seriously. Your Majesty Lilith, the Prince is not scary. Even the strongest among the Forbidden Princes is not scary. The real scary thing is the Blood Ancestor. Blood Ancestor? Lilith raised the corners of her mouth with disdain and snorted coldly. Is that the loser who can't even reach the strongest level? Dracula. We can't talk today. Even if you kill the Forbidden Prince and even gain stronger combat power, you will definitely be targeted by the Blood Ancestor. Dracula took out a thick history book and explained. The Blood Ancestor has the blessing of the River of Blood, which can affect every blood clan. In frontal combat, no blood clan is his opponent. In the past more than 1,000 generations of blood ancestors, they all died of betrayal and strong men from other clans. If a vampire wants to kill the Blood Ancestor without borrowing the help of others, he must first make the other party lose the favor of the river of blood before he can get back to the same starting line and have a chance to succeed. Yawn. Lilith yawned, looking troubled. Then tell me, what should we do now? Run away. Dracula had already given his answer. Run away, find a place to hide, grow slowly, and wait for the blood ancestor to be killed by other strong men, or lose the blessing of the blood river. Dracula felt that this was the safest plan. Don't run. Lilith shook her head. I don't care. If you don't run away, you can think of another way. Very much like Party A. Dracula was on the verge of tears but couldn't win. He fought but couldn't win and ran but couldn't let go. I can't live this day. Soon, Dracula spent a day and came up with a new countermeasure. Your Majesty Lilith, I have an idea. Dracula came over excitedly and said seriously. We can buy a group of human women, tidy up the castle, and pretend to be hosting the Forbidden Prince. Isn't it just reception work? Do. A hearty reception. Lilith frowned, a little confused. Then what? She didn't understand the point of doing this. What you don't know is that the blood of the human race is a rare delicacy for people below the count, but for the real strong men of the blood race, they look down on the human race. Strong men of the vampire tribe love to suck the blood of strong men. Therefore, Dracula entertained the prince with a castle of human women. The other party will definitely refuse to pass by Dracula's territory, and the two of them can safely avoid this northern hunt. Dracula. That night. Gao Wu Kao Tu. Dracula, who discovered the gate of life, immediately stuffed the roasted pig head into the opponent's mouth and forced the opponent to eat. Lilith pointed at the struggling Marquis on the ground and said seriously. So Dracula, the cook, immediately transformed into interrogating Dracula. Due to manipulations in the memory, there is no way to directly read the memory. The other party was very tough, and no matter how hard Dracula beat him, he would not reveal any information. Fantasy Buckle 1. You go ahead and do it, I'm going hunting. During a break, Dracula roasted a pig for himself. As for what happens next, let's talk about it later. At first, the interrogation went poorly. Lilith brought back a living creature. Dracula told the other party that he was a man and was going to go sunbathing directly. Dracula immediately realized that these strong vampires hate all food except blood. Lilith was too lazy to think about this and waved her hand. Roast pig is a real food for them. Ask clearly. Other deductions for the full text of Tao Te Ching. He was crippled by me. Dracula stuffed a piece of pig's trotter into his mouth and rewarded himself with a big mouthful. I have encountered a problem with my new book, so I would like to chat with everyone, just casual chatting. They're building a tower. I don't quite understand. Goldfinger has already thought about it, but what subject matter should he write about? Xiangxia Buckle 3. As a result, the Marquis, who smelled the smell of roasted pig, cursed Dracula. Ask if there is any useful information. In the dungeon, the screams of vampires kept coming. This Marquis is said to be from the personal guard of a certain forbidden prince, and he should know a lot. It didn't take long before the Marquis tried everything. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjaya Old Thief. Chapter 868. Build a tower? Lilith didn't understand. What does building the tower have to do with us? Dracula gnawed clean the pig's trotters in his hand and said slowly. The supervisor is a forbidden prince whose name cannot be explained. In fact, this is all fart. Do you know that every forbidden prince's name cannot be explained, but there is only one who farts to this extent? Dracula swallowed, and a name emerged in his heart. Cain. According to legend, Cain had to sleep for a full 180 years every time. Every time he woke up, he had to kill a heaven-level figure to rinse his mouth. According to rumors, Kane also has a god-level puppet. Of course, none of this matters. The most important thing is, Kane is building a tower, maybe Beishao is coming to kill Lilith. Escape, there is definitely no way to escape. Dracula's thinking is very clear. He knew that the guards appeared on this land and were captured by Lilith, which meant that Kane himself was not far away. Kane might not care if the guards died. However, Kane will definitely intensify his hunting efforts. How to hide Lilith is Dracula's biggest problem right now. Lilith asked back, "The disguise you made before is not good." "That's fine, but now I have a bolder plan." Dracula said a few words to Lilith. The core idea is simple. If Lilith wants to become stronger, she needs more than just fighting. In fact, as a genius, she needs more resources. Fighting is just a way to obtain resources. For vampires, the improvement of overall strength depends either on external objects or on their own accumulation. Even like Dracula, lying in a coffin, he can become a count over time. However, this kind of growth is too slow for Lilith. After hearing Dracula's plan, Lilith still had some doubts in her heart. Can this method work? If Dracula's plan really succeeds, then Kane, how stupid. Dracula saw Lilith's thoughts and patiently explained. The people in power are not stupid in some ways, they are just arrogant. The vampires are extremely arrogant. After thinking about it, Lilith couldn't think of a better plan, and according to Dracula, she seemed to have nothing to lose. Okay, just do as you say. 3 months later. In a huge mobile blood palace, the forbidden prince among the forbidden princes was yawning boredly. Use, push, just know how to push. I've only been out for a short time, but you're urging me to go back and repair the pagoda. I don't know how long I'll have to repair this broken pagoda. His Highness Kane was in a bad mood. This time when he was hunting in the north, he originally wanted to find a mysterious and powerful man, but he happened to meet an elder from the werewolf tribe, so Kane bought himself a scarf. However, the guards were also slightly damaged, and some were replenished nearby. Less than half a year after hunting in the north, the blood ancestor drove him back to build a tower. Kane wished he could kill a blood ancestor for fun. Your Highness, don't be impatient. A clan elder patiently persuaded Kane. Your Highness, His Majesty the blood ancestor may be trying to attack the realm of the strongest. If your Majesty succeeds, the blood clan will have no worries for generations to come. But if His Majesty fails, you will be safer if you stay in the forbidden area. Safety. Kane sneered. For someone's safety, for the old guy's own safety. He is just afraid that I will sneak attack and take away his position as blood ancestor. The clan elder asked helplessly. If you had a chance outside, would you attack me secretly? Then I will definitely attack by surprise. Kane was shamelessly above board. What's so secretive about this? The sneak attack on the blood ancestor was successful, and Kane became the blood ancestor. From then on, the most noble existence of the blood clan had no reason to hesitate at all. The clan elder sighed. So, you have to go back and repair the tower. That's the logic, but Kane still felt unhappy. He glanced at the list of newly promoted personal guards and found a strange name among them. Dracula. Kane pointed at a name. This guy is weird. Move him to my side and put him on duty. Eccentric. The clan elder was a little surprised. How could a little marquis be so weird? The strongest person in their family is a duke, and he is useless in terms of blood. Kane said coldly. He spent 1600 years sleeping to become an earl, and in less than 2 years, he became a marquis. He is not eccentric, who is? As he spoke, Kane's eyes drifted forward and fell on a personal guard named Dracula. Little bat, what kind of surprise can you bring me? I am almost bored to death by building this broken tower. Half a month later. Forbidden area for building pagodas. His Royal Highness Kane has ordered that from now on, the people of the human race will be recruited to participate in the construction of the tower. After the order was passed down, a large number of civilians poured into the forbidden area for pagoda repair. The human race has no status at all in this world, and slaves are already one of their best destinations. Among the civilians, a woman followed the crowd blankly, shouting a name repeatedly. Della, cook. Where are people? Lilith was not mentally prepared at all for her appearance here. As soon as she woke up, she left the castle inexplicably and appeared in the team. Be honest. A Blood Clan guard came over and scolded loudly. Get in quickly. Dracula. The other party made a gesture towards Lilith. Lilith understood immediately, nodded, and asked in a low voice, how about chicken drumsticks later? Dracula. Through sunlight, these humans entered the forbidden area of building towers, and Lilith was no exception. Dracula found a few familiar supervisors and asked them to keep an eye on Lilith. I have a grudge against this human woman. I want her to be tortured here. Brothers, please don't let her die. The other party accepted the essence and blood sent by Dracula, immediately understood and nodded continuously. Everyone is sleeping quietly. After a while, the blood grapevines turned into ashes. That's what they think. All the powerful vampires went out to have fun. She once fought with a duke over a small piece of blood grapevine and was almost killed by him. Lilith raised her eyes and saw countless precious treasures, all placed randomly on the ground. The so-called pagoda construction must have used all kinds of rare treasures and precious items. That's right, even if they have a thief's heart and courage, they don't have the ability. Night falls. Now, the grapevine in front of me is 10 times better. Lilith stood up and walked towards the nearest rare treasure, which was a blood grapevine. Brother, let's withdraw now, isn't it good? But the other party's vision was distorted and he couldn't see clearly what was going on inside. The guards drifted away. This guy is quite useful. Therefore, under normal circumstances, as long as there is no problem, they will not enter the tower range rashly. Under the moonlight, a pair of scarlet eyes are quietly busy. 2,000 meters away from her, there is a forbidden prince. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I have already started to memorize the Tao Te Ching. After memorizing it, I will start writing a new book. The strong men of various races did not patrol the field, but were on the edge of the tower range. It's a buffet. A bright moon hangs high in the sky. Countless precious materials were piled near the base of this strange tower, and ragged humans lay in every corner, shivering in the cold night. Lilith stretched out her hand and pressed it on the blood grapevine. Wisps of blood flowed into her body crazily, healing her injuries and consolidating her realm. A bit full. Once they enter the area of influence of this tower, their strength will be greatly weakened, and they may even risk falling. For the powerful vampires, as long as they ensure that the supplies are not secretly transported out, everything will be fine. A pair of scarlet eyes quietly opened and looked around cautiously. Lilith couldn't help but burp. When it was time to change the shift, Dracula shouted. What are you afraid of? These humans can't practice. Even if rare treasures are put in front of them, they can't do anything about it. Even if they eat it, they can't digest it. These human beings cannot make any waves. Because this tower is not only a tower, but also a refuge in the future. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 869. Forbidden area for building pagodas. Kane looked at the list in front of him with a gloomy expression. Waste. Waste. They are all waste. Kane pointed at the many vampires in front of him and scolded them one by one. You are really vampires. I approved the materials for 10 floors, and I have only built 5 floors, and the materials have been used up. Tell me. Where did the materials go? Did you eat them all? Previously, the progress of building the tower had been very slow. Cain was very upset about this and even sneaked out to hunt in the north. After returning from northern hunting, someone among Cain's guards suggested that humans could be used to build the tower instead of werewolves. Since then, the progress of building the tower has been much faster. A clan elder stepped forward bravely. Your Highness, the schedule is tight, and those humans are clumsy. The losses in building the tower are much higher than expected. You are really vampires. Cain glanced around and said coldly. Don't think I don't know, someone is stealing it, but don't let me catch it. After getting angry, Cain didn't say much. He also approved the materials for building the 5th floor and asked the vampires to speed up the progress and repair the tower base as soon as possible. After dismissing the vampires, Cain returned to his palace, and the anger on his face disappeared. It took 1/10 of the budget to complete a quarter of the work. Cain sighed, a little helpless. Why can't all these things belong to me and be used to build the tower? A clan elder was amused by Cain's words and said with a helpless smile. Your Highness, the purpose of building the tower is to cope with the catastrophe of annihilation. If you are dead, what use will these things have? That's true. As a senior member of the vampire clan, Cain certainly knew these secrets. That guy named Eternity is so talkative. I think this tower may not be able to withstand the catastrophe of annihilation. Maybe a few of its floors can. The Blood Ancestor was moved by Eternity and joined the queue of building the tower. Not only the Blood Ancestors, but also many strong men from other races are interested. Cain put aside the matter of building the tower for the time being. After building the pagoda for so many years, he wanted to enjoy it. Before Cain could relax, a sissy voice came from above the palace. Little Cain, we came to play with you. Upon hearing this voice, Cain's expression suddenly changed and he screamed back. Cain's not home. It's Eternity's crazy son again. Crazy, moody, and extremely powerful. There were rumors that this lunatic tore apart a nearly powerful man with his hands during a battle. In fact, Eternal is a very reasonable person. Many powerful people don't know how strong Eternal is. Eternity never takes full action. On the contrary, this crazy son of Eternity is truly a near to the powerful combat power. There are even rumors that both Eternity and his son came from the upper world. Regarding these rumors, Cain always forgot them after hearing them. However, the eternal mad son, Cain suffered a lot at the hands of the other party. If I can't afford to offend him, can I still afford to hide? Cain's figure slowly faded and disappeared from the place. I'll leave it to you to worry about building the tower. Listening to Cain's message, the clan elder couldn't help but sigh again. Could this lunatic be a shill hired by Cain? After discovering that Cain has disappeared, the madman is also preparing to leave. Before leaving, the eternal crazy son said seriously. Cain didn't ask us to come here to find him. Idiot, Cain told us not to say anything. I didn't say it, you idiot. You told it all. Life in the forbidden area where pagodas are built is boring and tasteless. Dracula had a good reputation among the SS as a helpful vampire. He never worked night shifts and worked exclusively during the day. At the same time, Dracula will also distribute the rewarded essence and blood to other personal guards, which is very generous. Of course, these things don't actually bring Dracula a good reputation. What really makes Dracula respected is his strength. The new Marquis's strength has improved at a terrifying rate. In just a few years, he has reached the peak of the Marquis and has the opportunity to challenge the Duke. In the vampire clan, only strength will be respected. Helpful. In the eyes of real vampires, this is a bad habit and a disease that needs to be cured. During this period, His Highness Cain, who presided over the work of building the tower, never showed up again. However, this is good news for Dracula and Lilith. In the evening of this day, Dracula was on duty, carefully communicating with Lilith. "Are you about to become a prince?" "No." Lilith shook her head. "I'm already a prince." Dracula: "There's no way, there's too much material here. Lilith can enjoy countless resources without fighting at all. Eat and sleep, sleep and eat." And Dracula discovers something horrifying. When Lilith digests resources, her speed is doubled. Very horrible. Brother. He has never seen anything like this. Above the forbidden prince is Cain. Inside the palace. Lilith asked back. "I can feel that in the river of blood, a younger generation is rising rapidly. Prince, there is also the forbidden prince. Run, why run?" Dracula. Lilith nodded, deeply convinced. "But, Dracula spends most of his time sleeping in a coffin, so it's normal that he hasn't been seen before." Dracula lowered his voice and said, "Now is not the time to challenge Cain. The blood ancestor is dead." As for how Lilith planned to deal with the blood ancestor, Dracula did not dare to ask, and Lilith did not say much. Someday. Is there such a good thing? As long as there are enough geniuses who have emerged and have enough weight, this blood ancestor will sooner or later lose the blessing of the river of blood. By then, he will not be far from death. Let's run while Cain is not here. If the blood ancestor dies, Cain will most likely become the new blood ancestor. A little too arrogant. You are already a prince, why are you hesitating?" At this moment, Cain had only one thought in his mind. Before Cain could finish his words, a streak of blood came towards him, penetrated into Cain's forehead, and brought him a message. The bloody grapes in Cain's hand rolled to the ground, with ecstasy on his face. As long as the blood ancestor does not die for a day, no one can shake Cain's position. "I want to be a blood ancestor." Opposite him sat a madman, nodding his head. "I have become a prince, why can't I kill him?" Cain lay on the soft couch and said leisurely. "The blood ancestor passed by a certain place and suddenly lost the protection of the river of blood. He was affected by the most powerful war and fell. Indeed, deal with the blood ancestor first, and then kill Cain after the blood ancestor is dead. Have you forgotten, there is also the blood ancestor?" Dracula lowered his voice and said. "Dracula. The prince just wants to challenge Cain. Online games, only I can see hidden information." Author, Minjaya Old Thief. Chapter 870. The cold blood rained randomly on my face. Cain couldn't figure it out. Which life did I owe the debt to? The blood ancestor is not dead, he is the shadow blood ancestor. Now that the blood ancestor is dead, he is still the shadow blood ancestor. Then didn't the blood ancestor die in vain? Cain was lying on the ground, his eyes blank, looking at the sky, feeling that his vampire career was filled with two words: failure. "Are you Cain?" A cold voice sounded, and Cain raised his head with difficulty and looked forward. He could only see a vague figure of a woman, to be precise, a female vampire. The guy who calls himself Lilith appears out of nowhere and has the power of a prince as soon as he appears. This kind of genius must of course be nipped in the cradle. Especially during the sensitive period of the death of the blood ancestor, Cain did not allow any genius to rise up in the blood clan and threaten his status. Unfortunately, Cain got the wrong script again this time. The other party actually started the trial of the river of blood first. When Cain found out, he followed him. And then, Cain was abused. Cain had a great advantage, Cain went up with A, and Cain played GG. Lilith did not step forward to finish the attack, but stood there and slowly adjusted her breath. "However, you are quite capable of fighting," Lilith said seriously. "You are the most capable vampire I have ever met." Cain wanted to say something, but a mouthful of blood gushed out of his mouth, nearly choking him to death. He is already dying. Even if the opponent doesn't hit the target, the rising sun will kill Cain. Maybe, dying at dawn is the fate of every vampire. Cain, who was lying on the ground waiting for death, had a ridiculous idea in his heart. If anyone can save his life, he is willing to offer his loyalty. Yes, a vampire's loyalty. Although it is a bit ridiculous, Cain believes that the proud vampire still has this noble quality. No one will come to save him. The first ray of morning light fell on Cain's face, burning a small hole. With Cain's previous rank, sunlight would not cause any harm to him at all. Now seriously injured and on the verge of death, he could not bear the weak sunlight. Cain could even feel his consciousness blurring a little. It's all over. Just when the sun was about to burn off Cain's entire face, a shadow enveloped him and brought Cain back from the brink of death. Who saved me? Did he survive? Cain's strong desire to survive was aroused at this moment, and he tried his best to see everything in front of him clearly. It's still the same face, exactly the same face as that stinky woman. What is she doing, humiliating herself? Cain immediately noticed something strange. This woman's temperament is completely different, her eyes and demeanor are all different. It's as if, he has changed into a different person. In the past, he was decisive and ruthless in killing. Lilith squatted in front of Cain, looked at Cain's broken body, and couldn't help but ask. Why are you hurt so badly? Cain? What do you say? Why do you think I was injured so badly? Puff. Hearing these words, a mouthful of black blood welled up in his throat. Cain's eyes went dark and he passed out completely. When Cain woke up again, there was a big tree above his head and his body seemed to be covered with many leaves. He tried to move his body, causing a series of noises. Are you awake? A girl not far away noticed the movement and walked over quickly. Don't move. You're seriously injured. I don't know how you did it. You're so injured that you don't know how to pay attention. Cain. He didn't know what to say for a moment. The girl filled a handful of water with a huge leaf and handed it to Cain's mouth. Originally, this was a very warm and even ambiguous gesture. But the girl didn't seem to be very good at doing these things. She shook her hand and splashed all the water on Cain's face. Cain's wounds hadn't recovered yet, but when he was hit by the cold water, he felt much more awake. Roar! He couldn't help shouting. Is this girl trying to torture herself by not killing herself? Before Cain could roar, the girl apologized quickly. Sorry. I'm not very good at doing these things. I used to be a cook. Cook. Cain heard a key word and took it to heart. An inexplicable mysterious strong man, and an even more mysterious cook. Cain regained some strength, sat up, leaned against the tree, and looked at the girl in front of him. This girl looks exactly like Lilith, but they are definitely not the same person. Cain asked cautiously. Who else is the cook, what's the relationship? Chef, he is a good man. The girl said a lot of good things about the cook, praising the delicious food he baked, and also praised the cook for helping her sister a lot. Elder sister. Cain captured another key word. Cain. The position of blood ancestor is within easy reach. After joining the queue of Xiantutu, the girl squatted opposite Cain, holding half a rabbit head in one hand and eating happily. Cain also chatted with the other party without saying a word. Who is your sister? Do not know. Lilith explained seriously. Thinking of this, Cain's heart felt a little hot. My vampire family is going to have the strongest one. Bad news, the new blood ancestor is not Cain. By the way, my sister seems to be chasing a guy named Cain. Do you know Cain? My sister is a vampire just like you. She is very strong. My sister told me that when she becomes the blood ancestor, No one will dare to bully us. Forget it, what does this have to do with Cain, the dying vampire? Lilith. Cain seemed to have found a glimmer of hope. Cain, the majestic shadow blood ancestor, with real and near to the strongest strength, was abused like a dog by your sister. My sister is resting. She will come back to me at night. He showed a sincere smile and said, okay. Just as Cain was thinking this, Lilith suddenly raised the wooden stick in her hand. At night. Lilith gestured with her hands and said. Cain, who was eating roasted rabbit legs, stopped what he was doing and thought about it seriously. Looking at the roasted rabbit on the stick, Cain's face turned pale. With your sister's strength and character, thank God if she doesn't bully others. Cain shook his head and said honestly. Where is your sister? He needs food now, needs to regain his strength, and then start to escape. When your sister becomes the blood ancestor, the strongest one, is not impossible. If Lilith catches him again, Cain will be dead. Inviting vampires to eat this kind of food is tantamount to inviting vampires to eat shit. Unfortunately, Cain was not in a position to refuse. You're hungry, right? Do you want to eat rabbit? Cain asked cautiously. Good news, the new blood ancestor is extremely powerful. Lilith said casually.